Hello and welcome to this demonstration of Workflow Plus on a RealWare. To begin, I'm going to show you what the demonstration looks like from a user perspective using a device. Following that, I'm going to show you what it looks like from an admin perspective. How do you manage workflows and where do they go? And finally, I'm going to show you how we build workflows ready to use on a RealWare. I'm going to show you how we navigate through to Workflow Plus first, and then I'll take you through a very simple demo of a workflow. My Programs, Workflow Plus. So now we're in, this is the dashboard. This is what a user would see when they log in. Prior to this, every user that uses Workflow Plus has their own login credentials. It's a very simple login process. Before this, the user would have to type in a code which they would find on their admin panel. I'll show you that at the end as well. But there's a few options, and like with RealWare, everything here you can see is a say as you see scenario. So we have 6 icons. We have show jobs on the left hand side. We have show schedule, a schedule which could be a list of items or work that needs to be completed by this particular user. Navigate back. We also have scanner code, and this is linked to a QR code, so very useful when you are potentially inspecting assets. Instead of having to look through a list of predetermined workflows, we actually automatically create a QR code that links to the workflows that you have built. You can find these in the admin panel, which I will show you. But this essentially means it's a lot quicker for a user to jump into a workflow if they have the QR code available. Sometimes our customers print and stick these QR codes to an asset. We actually also have customers that laser engrave them into an asset as well. So if an engineer comes to an asset that they are inspecting routinely, then they could come and scan the QR code and begin the process very quickly. You also have job history, so the user can view any workflows that they have completed previously. We also have the request help function, which allows the user to jump into a live video call with a colleague, and then also show settings is allowing the user to sign out of their profile. New job, select item 4, start job, and now we're in a process. So this is what a workflow might look like. This is a demo. We actually are maybe doing an inspection of a pump pressure on this particular demo, so maybe that is relatable, but also bear in mind everything you can see on the screen is customizable to your own use case. As you can see again, the principle is that you need to say as you see, and on the right hand side you can see a blue icon, which is quite common with our workflows. That always normally indicates a instruction that a user needs to give to the device. Show items, select item 2, confirm selection. We can also, as you've seen, we can choose from a list which might be predetermined by a manager who builds this process, but we can also type in numbers or characters manually. Keyboard, number, 178, accept. And you can also ask the user questions. So as you can see here, we're asking the user, do you have the right tools to do this job? And within this same step of the workflow, we can include assets in the form of images. So if the user would like to double check, make sure they have the correct tools, they could look at the images provided. View image 2, navigate back. And I obviously here have 2 options. You can have more than 2 options. You can change the wording here, so the answers could be different. You could have other answers that might be not available, for example. You also here have some fail safes. So as you can see, I could either say yes or no. If I say yes, it will allow me to proceed to the next step. But if I say no, you can also configure Workflow Plus to stop the process and actually advise the user to go and get the right tools and come back. So you do have some health and safety initiatives in there as well. Yes. View video 1. So the same as with images, you can also include videos. This is very useful perhaps from a training perspective, but also very useful for reference. So in this particular demo, you can see here we're doing a pump pressure reading, but maybe you want to highlight some very crucial elements before the user progresses. So maybe that is showing a video of how to switch off a valve, for example, which is very important. Next step. You can also capture assets. So as you know, with a RealWear headset, with the HMT or the Navigator 500 or 520, you can capture images or videos. So here you can see again, we have the capture photo icon. Capture photo, take photo. You can capture multiple photos, you can delete them as well, but also you can capture multiple videos. Next step. So I won't show you here capturing a video, but the principle is exactly the same. You would use the same phrasing you can see in the blue box on the right hand side. Next step. It's very useful to show you when I don't capture information. So this will also appear with a bubble that you can see in front of you, saying the input is invalid. So it will remind the user if they have forgotten to input any of the required information. As you can see, I have two options. I could continue anyway, but I could also cancel and go back and capture that information. Continue anyway. Here now we have a warning bubble. So in relation to health and safety, or perhaps some very critical information you'd like to advise the user before they do something, you can use a warning bubble to advise that. So here you can see we're doing a pump pressure reading, and we're advising the user that it needs to be within a certain range to be deemed safe. So perhaps that's something that's normally written down. You're relying on the user to maybe remember that information, but with Workflow Plus we can actually provide that warning before they're allowed to do anything. So you can see here I need to say OK before I'm allowed to type in that pressure reading. By the way, as an audit trail, as we're doing this process, we're capturing all this information. It is building a report in the background automatically, but we're also going to be able to note down the acknowledgement of this warning step as well. So that will also be included on the report to say that the user has accepted these terms. Okay, keyboard, number, 15, accept. And at the end, we can do another decision step. So we can ask the user a question. We're saying, has it been done satisfactorily? And they can say yes or no. And if you say yes, that will proceed and complete the job. If you say no, maybe it will ask you to add some notes. You know, maybe you've identified some areas that there's been some issues. So you could add more notes from the user's perspective if required. Before I do this though, there is other functions that are included within Workflow Plus. We could do the call out function, so we could request the help. So maybe I'm involved and I'm doing this workflow, this process right now. I need to speak to a colleague back at base or back at the head office, and if I have internet connectivity, I could use remote support. So all I need to do this is say the phrase request help. And as you can see, I have set up Workflow Plus to integrate with Microsoft Teams. There are other remote support applications available, but if you're using Microsoft Teams, we can jump straight into a Teams call with one of your colleagues. As you can see here, you'd be able to choose from a list of colleagues, and you could do that remote support video call. The other user, the person back at head office, would be able to see through your video camera on the device, so they would be able to see exactly what you're looking at in real time, offer you advice, and you could end the call and jump back straight into your workflow. Navigate back. Yes. And that would complete a demo of showing you how a Workflow Plus workflow looks on a RealWear device. You can instantly also look at the report that you've just generated. View report. Zoom level 2. So here are those steps that we completed. As you can see at the very top here, we also record how long the process took to complete. And here is the report showing you all the detail that we captured during that process. Go to page 2, zoom level 2, navigate back, dashboard. From an admin perspective, the Workflow Plus dashboard has been built with the same ease of use in mind. The dashboard is very intuitive from an admin perspective. It's very simple to not only build workflows but also manage them. As you can see here, we have some very simple options on the left hand side, and the first thing we're looking at here are the workflows. So here is the RealWear workflow that we did a demo on earlier. You can change the title here. You can edit the permissions, so maybe certain users or groups of users have access to this particular process. And if we scroll up here, you can see version history. So if we've made a change this morning to the process itself, but it's not as good as it was yesterday or the day before, we can activate a previous version and that will automatically roll out onto the devices that everyone has in your business. Here you can see as well the QR code. You could download that here, print that off, and you could access the process straight away. On the left, again here, jobs. You can view the jobs that you're currently coming through from your employees out on the front line. You can download them as CSVs, as PDFs. But don't forget, these are also automatically sent by email. We also have the ability to schedule processes for certain members of the team or a team of users. And you can see here, we can do that very simply. We can choose the workflow that needs to be completed. We can select the user. And we can also select the date and also the time that it needs to be completed. This will appear on the device for that user when they go and look at their schedule on the RealWear. In settings, we can look at the team settings here. This is where you choose your remote support option. So here you can see we have Microsoft Teams selected. Then we have the users. So you can manage your users here. And as you can see, we can manage the permissions of each user as well, down to the level that they have permission to do things. So you can see they could be an admin, or they might just be a user that's executing jobs on a RealWear device. On the right hand side here, you can see a 3-line menu. This is where you find device login. On the RealWear, you would be able to find the code. You type that in here and that would log in on the device. So we've looked at what a workflow looks like from a frontline perspective, but we've also looked at it from an admin perspective. Here you can see the Workflow Plus editor. It's very much a Visio style. You can see here you can move your icons around, and to edit any of these steps in a workflow, you simply double click, and here you can see we can change lots of the information. Maybe you'd like to choose from the list here. You can see choose it. Is it a video? Is it a photo? Is it choosing from a selection? We can also edit the warning step here. So as you saw in the demo, we had a warning. And here is the assets area. So this is where you could either click and drag, bring in images and videos, or add them manually. On the left hand side here is the toolbox. Here are the different types of steps that you use to build a process. I'm going to bring in an input step here. And all you need to do is click and drag and double click. Choose from the list and you can choose it to be a photo, for example. So type in the title as take a photo, hit complete, and we've created that new step in the process. When you hover your mouse, there's 4 little squares that you can see around the edge. Simply grab one of those and drag it into the next step in the process. That concludes our demonstration of Workflow Plus on a RealWear device. If you have any questions, please feel free to get in touch on www.interwear.com. Thank you.